Welcome to Perry Unlikely. Ray Dalio is considered one of the greatest investors of all time. So when he speaks, people listen. And yes, even in the crypto world, people listen to an extent because many people in the crypto world also have ties in legacy investing. So many people in crypto are also in the stock market. That is undeniable. So today we're going to take a look at Ray Dalio's recent comments of what he said will kill Bitcoin. And you're probably going to find it as a surprise what he specifically says will do it. Let's take a look at it.
I mentioned briefly the idea of crypto, and I know you've had different views of this. A lot of people think of that as a new investment class that has had an enormous run thus far, but also as a way to mitigate, if you will, against the idea of what the value of cash becomes.
Well, I think it's worth considering all the alternatives to cash and all the alternatives to some of the financial assets. And so Bitcoin is a possibility, is that a merit? Right. I have a certain amount of money in Bitcoin. It's a small percentage of that which I have in gold, which is a relatively small percentage of what I have in my other asset classes and so on. And I think that has the merit. It's an amazing accomplishment to have brought it from where that programming occurred to where it is in the test of time. On the other hand, if it's successful, it's going to not be, the governments don't want to have it successful. You don't want to have an alternative currency. But we're starting to see governments
like El Salvador. I know that's not exactly going to be the leading government on this, but there are governments that may take this on.
But no. You have El Salvador taking it on, and you have India and China getting rid of it, and you have the United States talking about how to regulate it, and it could still be controlled. So that's right. what it looks like. If you're El Salvador and you talk about your alternative monies, you know, it's a different thing.
Do you believe that regulation ultimately will make something like Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies have a future, or do you think regulation will kill it?
Well, I think I think at the end of the day, if it's really successful, they'll kill it, and they'll try to kill it, and I think they will kill it because they have ways of killing it. But that doesn't mean it doesn't have, a place, a value, and so on. But it's one of those things that has it doesn't have intrinsic value. If you put cryptocurrencies, or let's say Bitcoin, in the historical perspective, right? There are so many things in a historical perspective that were given that didn't have intrinsic value and have perceived value, and then became hot, and then they become cold. And so it could be either way. You just have to know what it is, right? I mean, like, it could be tulips in Holland, and the intrinsic value. So what is the value? And then there are technological changes. I'm no expert on that. I'm just trying to say that you asked me what my opinion is. Take it for what it's worth. I'm no expert on it. I think diversification values. It matters. I suspect the real question that investors should be asking themselves is how much stuff like that do they have? How much stuff do they have? Do they have gold? Okay, should we be talking about how much you have in gold versus how much you have in Bitcoin? And do you have a diversification in those kinds of things that we might call intrinsic value money? Because we have a fiat monetary system, okay? With a fiat monetary system, where is your hard money? That's the question, and however you go after it, I think that's the question to be answered.
There you have it, regulators. And more specifically, because I don't think anybody's surprised if someone says regulation could kill Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. We hear that all the time. More specifically, it is Bitcoin's success that he said would do it. For Bitcoin to continue to do well, that is what's going to cause it to be killed. And his point is that regulators, and obviously the powers that be, don't want Bitcoin to be able to become this stronghold, because obviously the old school way of doing things with fiat currency. So I do believe that makes sense, but let me give you my take on it. Over the past year and a half, we have seen what the powers that be did to keep the market in place. What you have to realize is we are now reaching a point where the crypto market is getting so big, and as I previously mentioned, people in crypto are also in the equities market. So if they decide to kill Bitcoin, they got to know it's going to have an effect on the traditional sector as well. Maybe they're not completely tied together. And of course, the traditional markets do have more bearing because of their size. But those playing in both markets, if crypto goes down, it's going to have an effect on the equities market. And I know that regulators have to know that. Not to mention, another piece is you got to remember, Gary Gensler with the SEC, he is a blockchain advocate. As far as how big of one, we're going to get a chance to see. Before he took his current position with the administration, he was teaching blockchain classes at MIT. So he does believe in blockchain technology. So I do think that's at least important to recognize. While I do have a lot of respect for Ray Dalio, we have to also recognize that there are tons of other people at this point that are major investors, big figures. You've got Michael Saylor of MicroStrategies. He's obviously one of Bitcoin's biggest advocates. You've got many others. I mean, Kathy Wood, Raoul Pal. There's so many people other than Ray Dalio that believe this technology is around to stay, and they're not so worried about regulation. Many of these big-time figures in investing say regulation is exactly what Bitcoin needs. So I do get Ray Dalio's point when it comes to Bitcoin's success. Obviously, the powers that be will have a problem with it taking over in a dominating sense. I personally don't believe there's even enough Bitcoin for it to do that, although it can be broken down in figures that are absolutely crazy. And we are seeing other nations, like El Salvador, make it their national currency. I still do not have that worry. I think of it as digital gold. I think it will, for the most part, continue to be that, and that cryptocurrency will flourish as a whole. We've seen it time and time again. Now the banks are even getting involved. So think about that as well. That's an extra layer. So if the banks are getting involved and they're trying to get their hand in the pot, you know how lobbying works if you understand politics to any level. So many big hands are tied in this now. I do not see the death of Bitcoin ever. Let me know what you think. I do have much respect for Ray Dalio, but at the end of the day, I do believe this new world of digital currencies, if you will, are here to stay. Let me know what you think in the comments. Will Bitcoin's success be to its own demise through regulation, or will regulation maybe slow things down for a little bit, and then after that, it's off to the races? Let me know what you think. Thanks for tuning in to Perry Unlikely. Make sure if you want to check out more of the content to hit the bell for notification. Likes are absolutely free. Make sure to hit that like button. Thanks for checking out the channel, and I will see you next time.